Hello, and welcome to this series. I thought I would make this series because, while many fans know that these games are often quite frustrating, I don't think that anyone has done a thorough job in dissecting why that's the case. I thought I would be the first. I've beaten all the FNAF games and have obtained all of the stars, achievements, and endings. If you want to see proof of this, I put a link in the description to a playlist of videos where I beat all of the FNAF challenges. I've also made guides to some of these games and have used other people's guides, sometimes adding some of my personal comments and tips to them. At this point, I feel more than qualified to make judgments about these games, and I have one general statement to make about them. The FNAF games are not good. They're just not very good. They are poorly designed and they range from mediocre to outright poor. When you look at these games, you get the sense that they weren't thoroughly tested. There's plenty of evidence to back this claim up. First, let's look at the release dates of the first four FNAF games. FNAF 1 was released on August 8th, 2014. FNAF 2 was released on November 10th, 2014. FNAF 3 was released on March 2nd, 2015. Finally, FNAF 4 was released on July 23rd, 2015. Notice how close the release dates are to each other. These games are only a few months apart. Additionally, all these games were released within a year. While such a fast pace is quite impressive, you can't help but to feel that there's going to be a trade-off somewhere. When you analyze the mechanics of the first four FNAF games, this trade-off becomes quite apparent. Scott released his games very early, at the cost of rigorous testing. This isn't to say that Scott didn't do any testing. He clearly did test his games, but he didn't test them enough to make a meaningful difference. If he had tested them, then there wouldn't be so many issues. The apparent lack of testing was at its worst in FNAF World, which was a disaster when it was released. The game was clearly in an unfinished state because it had many bugs and several missing features, such as a fully 3D overworld, attack explanations, and pages of character statistics. This game was so bad that Scott Cawthon took the game down from Steam, fixed some issues, added the missing features, and re-released the game on GameJolt. He even made a post on Steam where he admitted that he released the game too early. Let's read it, shall we? Hi everyone. This isn't exactly an announcement that I'm enjoying writing, but it's one that I feel I owe to the community. You know, I've been accused of rushing my games ever since FNAF 1, but I've never felt that I'd released a game too early. Until now. Before we continue reading, I want to state that for the record, I don't think that Scott rushes his games. What I'm saying is that he doesn't actually test any of his games. I just wanted to clear that up. Let's keep reading. There are a lot of features that this game should have had before release, features that I was told about but ignored and didn't implement. Features such as being able to see what abilities do during battle, or being able to see a stats page for your characters. These are features that any good RPG would have. I got too eager to show the things that were finished that I neglected to pay attention to the things that weren't. I'm going to fix this, and I'll be updating the game with these features in the coming weeks. So I say this to a community that I've enjoyed and respected for over a year and a half now. I'm sorry. I will continue to add features to the game and make it right. There's more to this post, but the remaining part is just a list of updates that include the missing features. I'll post a link to the entire article if you want to read the rest of it. Anyway, I will give Scott credit for admitting his mistake with FNAF World. That takes courage. Plus, I feel that Scott truly learned a tough but valuable lesson here. It's clear that after releasing FNAF World too early, he learned the importance of taking his time during development. I say this because Sister Location, Pizzeria Simulator, Ultimate Custom Night, and FNAF World Re-Released are all more polished than the first four entries in the FNAF franchise. That's not to say that these games are flawless, because they suffer from issues too. But they are his most polished games nonetheless. After all, they weren't released as quickly as the first four games. Sadly, all the games still suffer from glaring issues that ruin the gameplay, and I don't want them to go unmentioned. With the new console ports for the original games coming up soon, I want Scott to see how flawed the original games are and how he can improve on them. I'm sure that he already knows about some of the issues, but I don't think that he knows about all of the issues, or even about most of the issues. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that Scott thinks that his games are perfect. He already knows they're not. Still, I don't think that he's aware of just how flawed these games are. Fortunately, I'm here to fix that. In this series, I will try to cover as many of these issues as I can. I may not cover every possible issue, but I will at least try to cover all of the main issues. I'm not going to go easy on these games, but I won't be hateful towards them either. I'm just going to analyze these games objectively. Before I do that, I must address three counterarguments that I know will probably be used against me. The first counterargument is this: the FNAF games aren't bad, you're just not good at them. I believe I said at the very beginning of the video that I managed to beat all of these games by getting every single achievement possible. Anyone with a pair of working eyes and ears should already know this. Another thing that I want to point out is the implication from this argument that your skill is relevant to how good or bad a game is. It's not. It doesn't matter whether or not you're good at the game. If the game technically sucks, then it technically sucks. And the FNAF games kind of technically suck. Plus, DJ Sturf is one of the best players in the FNAF community, yet he has pointed out on multiple occasions how faulty some of the mechanics are. That, and he has some programming experience himself. If even DJ Sturf criticizes the FNAF game's mechanics, then that's saying something. The second counterargument is this: have you ever designed a game? It's pretty hard. I'd like to see you try to make a game. First of all, I don't care. It doesn't matter how hard game design is. That's irrelevant. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Scott Cawthon has to be a perfect game designer, and designing games can be, and often is, quite difficult. But game development is still a job. If you don't do your job correctly, then you fail, regardless of how hard you try. You don't get brownie points for simply trying to create a game. Sorry, but that's not how it works. Second of all, no, I haven't actually designed a game before. Not a major one anyway. Still, it doesn't matter whether or not I've actually made a game. You don't need to be a chef to know when the food is trash. You don't need to be a professional musical artist to know when someone can't sing or rap. You don't need to be a writer to know when someone can't write. You don't need to be a professional to know when a product is poor. Otherwise, reviews of products wouldn't even exist in the first place. The third counterargument is this: the FNAF games aren't bad, they just require a lot of skill. Oh my god. I'm sorry, but whenever someone tells me that the FNAF games require skill, I just want to laugh. No, they do not. They do not require a lot of skill. All you have to do is use the same strategy over and over and over again until you get lucky and win. That's it. That's all there is to it. Fuck out of here with that. Anyway, here's an example of what I'm talking about. In FNAF 1's 420 mode, all you have to do is this. Check the left door. Check cam 4B. Check the right door. Check cam 4B. After several cycles of this, close both doors and check cam 1C. If Foxy's gone, trigger him in cam 2A and wait for him to bang on the left door. Check cam 1C again. Switch back to cam 4B. Open both doors. Repeat the entire process. That's it. That's all you have to do. This strategy will work at least 90% of the time. You can even refine it further by checking the right door only when Chica shows up in cam 4B. Then, the only light that you have to check constantly is the left light. None of this is skill, just an exploit of the game's poorly thought out mechanics. There's nothing more to this game, so I have a hard time believing that it requires actual skill. Heck, most of the FNAF games are like this. They just don't require that much skill to beat. Sister Location seems to be the only exception to this rule, as its custom nights test your ability to keep track of multiple things while still giving you a fair shake at winning. Even so, those nights generally aren't all that difficult. I can recall dying only 5 times during all of the custom nights. except for Golden Freddy mode, of course. Even if the FNAF games do require some skill, it's not really for the right reasons. I say this because the games, once again, have poorly designed mechanics. When I play these games, I don't think, wow, these games are tricky. What strategy can I use to conquer them? Instead, I think, wow, these games are kinda crappy. What strategy can I use to survive the night? Encouraging strategy building in games is a good thing, but that's only if the mechanics of the games are properly designed in the first place. In short, these games are very technically flawed. They all have cool concepts, but many of these concepts are not actually implemented very well. This is quite sad because these games could have been better than they are now, but the overall poor design is holding them back. Anyway, let's begin with the game analysis videos. I'll start with the first game.